In July of 2024, a disturbing altercation unfolded at Manchester Airport's Terminal 2, initially portrayed by viral footage as a blatant case of police brutality against an innocent Muslim man, Mohammed Fahir Amaz. The clip showed a Greater Manchester police officer kicking and stomping Amaz's head while he lay prone on the ground, sparking immediate outrage from politicians, media outlets, and activists. This incident exemplifies how knee-jerk reactions from left-leaning figures prioritize appeasing minority communities, particularly Muslims, over supporting law enforcement and ensuring public safety. But as fuller CCTV and body cam footage emerged, the narrative crumbled. Amaz and his brother, Muhammad Ahmad, were the aggressors, viciously assaulting three officers, including breaking a female constable's nose in a brutal attack that left her sobbing and terrified. This reversal should serve as a stinging rebuke to those who rush to condemn the police, revealing a deeper pattern of politicians coddling the Muslim community for electoral gain while sacrificing the well-being of ordinary British citizens. Consider the hasty condemnations before the full facts were known. London Mayor Sadiq Kahn, a prominent Muslim politician, was quick to label the police actions as racist, Islamophobic, and anti-Muslim, fueling protests and demands for the officers' dismissals. And you know damn well that Sadiq Kahn saw all of the footage as soon as it happened, even the female officer with the broken nose, and still he came out and condemned the police. But this is what Khan will always do because his religion and his Muslim brothers are more important to him than the truth, even when they are in the wrong. In fact, his religion requires him to defend Islam at all costs, even when that defense may be detrimental to the British people he is sworn to protect. And then, of course, you have the virtue-signaling Muslim apologists like Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, who echoed Khan's sentiment. Media outlets like the BBC and The Guardian amplified the brutality narrative, with BBC Verify analyzing the initial clip without waiting for context, contributing to a frenzy that portrayed the police as villains and causing anti-police protesters to take to the streets. These reactions weren't based on evidence, but on a reflexive sympathy for Amaz, assuming victimhood because of his Muslim identity. In reality, the brothers' attack endangered lives. Amaz threw 10 punches, 2 elbow strikes, and a kick, while Ahmad delivered 6 punches, potentially allowing them to seize a firearm from the officers. The officer who responded with force was cleared of wrongdoing, yet the premature outcry undermined police morale and public trust. This rush to side with the assailant reeks of vote-chasing opportunism. Khan, Burnham, and their ilk represent a Labour Party increasingly reliant on Muslim voting blocs in urban areas like London and Manchester. By framing every police interaction with Muslims as inherently biased, they coddle a community that, in this case, produced violent offenders, all while ignoring the safety of British officers and citizens. The female officer, left with a broken nose and fearing for her life, symbolizes the real victims here. Law enforcement personnel abandoned by politicians more interested in pandering than justice. Such behavior erodes the rule of law, encouraging criminality under the guise of cultural sensitivity. It's no exaggeration to say that this coddling sacrifices British safety. When leaders prioritize minority grievances over facts, they embolden aggressors and deter police from acting decisively against threats. But the Manchester incident is merely a symptom of a far graver issue: the resurgence of Islam as a political force in the West after centuries of relative dormancy. For the last 500 years following the decline of the Ottoman Empire and the Enlightenment, Islam remained largely contained in the Middle East and Asia, with minimal aggressive expansion into Western societies. Colonialism, 2 world wars, and the Cold War kept it in check, allowing Europe and America to flourish under Christian Judeo values of individual liberty and democracy. That era is ending. Today, unchecked illegal immigration has flooded Western nations with millions from Muslim-majority countries, bringing not just people, but ideologies incompatible with Western norms. In the UK, net migration hit record highs under both conservative and Labour governments, with many entrants from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Somalia, nations where radical interpretations of Islam prevail. These inflows have led to no-go zones in cities like Birmingham and Bradford, where Sharia patrols harass locals and grooming gangs prey on vulnerable girls, often with impunity due to fears of Islamophobia accusation. Compounding this is the rise of Muslim politicians in the Western halls of power, who leverage their positions to advance communal interests over national ones. Take Zohran Mamdani, a Ugandan-born Muslim and democratic socialist who stunned New York by winning the Democratic primary for mayor in June. Mamdani's campaign, backed by progressive activists and South Asian Muslim networks, has drawn ire from critics for his outspoken views that align more with identity politics than American unity. As a self-described socialist, he pushes policies like taxing the rich and tackling hate, but his rise exemplifies how Muslim figures are infiltrating Western institutions, often prioritizing global ummah or Muslim community solidarity over host nation loyalties. Then, of course, in Congress, we have Muslim representatives like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. Omar, who stated her top priority was Somalia, not America, and Tlaib, who chanted "from the river to the sea," which is a call for the extinction of Israel. I mean, yay, Democrats, a couple of real winners there. New Yorkers, Americans, and Westerners should heed the UK's warning. Politicians like Kahn are compromised by Muslim money and power, leading to decisions that erode national sovereignty. In Britain, this manifests in lenient policing of protests where anti-Semitic chants go unchecked, or in the failure to deport radical imams. Meanwhile, British patriots are given 2-year prison sentences for merely criticizing Islam. Behind much of this influence is a flood of petrodollars from Islamic theocracies like Qatar, which has poured billions into Western universities, media, and politics to shape policy in its favor. Qatar alone donated $4.7 billion to U.S. institutions between 2000 and 2021, funding Middle East studies programs accused of anti-Western bias and supporting Islamist groups like the Muslim Brotherhood. This quiet campaign extends to lobbying conservative media like Fox News and influencing events that soften scrutiny of Doha's ties to terrorism. In Canada, Qatari funds back anti-Israel rhetoric through charities and universities, mirroring patterns in the US and UK. Such financial leverage buys silence on Qatar's own oppressive regime and advances a broader agenda. To understand that threat, look at how Islamic theocracies operate at home. They oppress women, homosexuals, and non-Muslims with medieval brutality. In Iran, a Shia theocracy, women face forced hijab laws, with morality police beating or killing those who resist, as seen in the 2022 death of Mahsa Amini, sparking nationwide protests. Homosexuals are executed by hanging or stoning, with hundreds of documented cases under Sharia law. Non-Muslim, like the Baha'is and Christians, endure systemic persecution, arrests, property seizures, and denial of education, deemed apostates or infidels. Saudi Arabia, a Sunni Wahhabi state, mirrors this. Women were only recently allowed to drive but remained under male guardianship there. Gays face beheading, and religious minorities like Shia Muslims or Hindus are marginalized with public floggings for blasphemy. These regimes export their intolerance through immigration and funding, aiming to impose a similar control in the West. The Manchester airport fiasco is really just a microcosm of Islam's strategic advance on the West. Conservatives must demand accountability from leaders like Kahn, halt mass immigration, and expose foreign influence like Qatar's. Failure to act will see Western freedoms earned through centuries of struggle, subjugated to an ideology that has lain dormant, but now awakens with a renewed vigor. New Yorkers eyeing Mamdani's mayoral bid, take note. What starts with coddled criminals ends with compromised nations. The time to defend our civilization is now.